rise in support of Amendment 474 to this bill in support of Raise the Age. First, I'd like to thank our Senate President, Senator Creighton, Senator Cream, and everyone else that has advocated and pushed for this bill. Thank you for your support and leadership on an important issue that affects working class, poor families across our Commonwealth. This crucial amendment addresses significant issues within our current criminal justice system by ending the automatic prosecution of 18-year-olds as adults and raising the age of the criminal court jurisdiction to 19. Currently, 18-year-olds in Massachusetts are automatically prosecuted as adults, which has severe and long-lasting repercussions. So we say in the Commonwealth that 18, if you commit a crime, you're an adult, but you're not an adult to buy alcohol, you're not an adult to buy tobacco. Legal system involvement inhibits these young people from assessing meaningful workforce opportunities, exacerbating economic inequalities, and derailing their education, skill building, and employment prospects. The adult criminal system produces worse public safety outcomes with a recidivism rate more than twice that of similar teens in the juvenile system. This approach harms individuals and deprives our communities of their potential contributions. I think as leaders, we have to look at the issue and we have to ask ourselves, is the goal to punish or is the goal to make sure that these young people do not go back to commit crime? The Raise the Age legislation aims to shift this population into the juvenile system, which is better equipped to handle the unique needs of young people. By focusing on therapeutic programming and positive youth development, the juvenile system holds these individuals accountable while addressing the underlying causes of their behavior. This approach increases their chances of successful reintegration into society, supports their educational and vocational aspirations, and ultimately reduces recidivism. For those of you that know me know that one of the things that I love to talk about was my experience as a teacher. I had the opportunity to work in DYS with young people in a secure facility, and I also had the opportunity to be a teacher at the Middleton County Jail. Both of them, two very, very different experiences. I had students that by 1 year unfortunately were not put into DYS, but went to county jail, that were looking for opportunities to complete their high school education, that were looking for opportunities to enter college, that were looking for opportunities to gain a skill set so that they wouldn't go back to the same position that they were in before and maybe commit that same crime or other crimes. Unfortunately, the culture in the jail, the access to resources in the jail, how these jails develop, they're not focused on trying to make sure that you are meeting every need so that these individuals go in the right path. So sometimes there were individuals that I only see once a month because of whatever their reason. How, as a teacher, could I ensure that these individuals were going to graduate, are going to get their high set, or were going to get the access that they needed so they can take classes in community college? Almost impossible. Whereas in DYS, completely different. I just visited the Middleton DYS Northeast Regional Youth Service Center again, and I witnessed again firsthand the positive impact of that program. The facility offered comprehensive services including healthcare, vocational education, specialized classrooms for art and music, skills-based training, practical technical skills training that provided there, equipped these young individuals with the tools that they needed to transition out of the system and into productive roles within our community. I was impressed by the dedication of the staff and the progress of our youth who are actively working there towards a brighter future. Just to tell one story, there was an individual there who was leading us around, and he was talking to us about how he was engaged in the skill-based training. And one of the stories that he told us was that in order for him to be part of the program, and the program was teaching him how to be a barber, he had to engage in conversation with an individual who he said, if I saw him on the streets, it would be war. That was his viewpoint, because they came from two different gangs. And he was told, if you want to be part of this group, you have to squash this beef. And because in his mindset, he didn't want to go back to where he was, and he wanted to make sure that when he left, whenever it was that he left, he had something to fall back on, he went in and they squashed it. And you know what he told me? That individual was no longer there. He said, he ended up being one of my closest friends. So now when this guy goes back into, the student goes back into the community, and he sees that young man, that war will not continue. I think that is the role, that is what we at best hope when we talk about the juvenile system or even the adult system. We want to make sure that whoever is in there, when they come out, they don't go back. That would not only just save us money, but that would ensure that we are bringing people back into the community to be good members of the community. As a city councilor, I chaired the public safety committee, and I dealt a lot within my community around public safety. Coming from a gateway city, violence happens, gun crimes happens, thefts happen, adults and young people. And I know, within my communities, I know that there are individuals that the first thing they think about is, this person committed this crime, punish them. Those of us that have, whether you've been in education, you've studied criminal justice, you've looked at the data, we all know that that doesn't work. If we want to make sure that these folks don't come back, we have to do things differently. And there's this view, perhaps, that in DYS, that it's all funds and rainbow. It is a jail. It is still a jail. These young kids that were there, I joked around with my friends that their rooms were like the Harry Potter closet. Tiny spaces. It is very difficult for a kid to learn in that type of environment. Very, very difficult. It's very difficult for a teacher to teach, knowing that their youth, people that you end up caring so deeply about, are going to go back into these spaces, no access, rarely have access to family, find this view that people don't care about you. There's a lot going on that we need to fix in DYS, but you know something? 1,000 times better than them ending up on the adult system. I think passing Amendment 474 is not only an investment in our youth, but also in the future of our communities. This reform is going to decrease crime rates, lower state spending on the legal system, and address the labor shortage by enabling more young people to participate in the workforce. Moreover, it's going to help bridge the racial wealth gap, as the current system disproportionately affects young men of color from low-income communities. I will say that most of the folks that I saw, black and brown individuals, and if they weren't, they were very, very, very poor individuals. And I would go to say that many of them, if they had access to capital and they were able to hire a good attorney, they probably wouldn't be there in the first place. These are individuals that our education system, they've fallen through the gaps. Individuals that the resources that we've put out there to help families, for some reason, didn't get there. I met this young individual who was lucky enough, not lucky enough, who was caught at a younger age, so he went to DYS. If he was caught a year later, he would have been somewhere else. And I was told by my chief of police that this individual was the biggest car thief in Lawrence. And then I happened at one point to talk to him, and I happened to be his teacher. And the reason that he ended up getting into that mess was because he was afraid for his family, and he wanted to make sure that he kept thinking about his younger brother, and he was like, I was the provider for my family. Now, those of us that have had a different experience from that, we can look at some of the individuals and be like, how do you get up into this problem? And I would say, if you have conversations with them, both the young people and adults that are in the criminal justice system, you will have not just empathy, but you will have a renewed energy on wanting to fix these issues. I want to thank the proponents of this bill. I want to thank the advocates that have pushed this forward. I hope today it passes, that we move it forward, one more year. I would say myself, as as a community leader, myself as an educator, as an individual that cares deeply for young people and wants to make sure that our communities and society prospers, I deeply believe that it shouldn't be 19, it should be 21, it should be 25, but I believe that this is a good compromise, and it's a right step in the right direction. So thank you, Mr. President, and I hope that this passes.